All right, next up is Berney Flowers, and Berney is running for Congress in Maryland's 3rd congressional district. He's also a great friend, and just am so excited for him to be the GOP candidate. He has a real shot at turning that seat and adding a congressional seat in the House. And by the way, there is no more important matter at hand right now other than the governor's race and, taking back some control out of the legislature from the Democrats here in Maryland. We must retain the House, at least. I'd like to add some seats, but I'll just retain the House. We cannot lose control of the House in this next election. Now, what's that going to take? It's going to take each and every one of you showing up to vote. You got to vote. All right. And to the extent that you can have your vote count on Election Day, I agree with Tyrone. I'm all in on voting on Election Day. Good morning, Berney, and welcome to the Kim Klacik Show.
Jen, I am so happy to be here with you.
It's so great. Always a pleasure. We have great conversations. We can go on for hours.
Yes, we do.
Yes. So, first of all, what are your initial thoughts now that you're through the primary and you've run 3 times a charm? This is the message to people considering running. It is definitely an investment, and it does take multiple times usually to get through. So it's not a thought that Berney is not as powerful a leader because he took 3 times to get through. In fact, he's a very powerful leader who stuck with it and pushed through and got through because, typically it's 2 or 3 times to run. So, and build name recognition and all of that. So Berney, what are your thoughts now that you're through the primary, and what do you want to accomplish as a member of Congress?
Jen, thanks for asking. First, what a relief. I mean, you were there in 2022 when I first started, and we've been friends since then. And you've seen me, as you said, go through these 3 iterations, 3 times the charm, and we finally won. You got to be totally dedicated. And when I mean that, I love this country, and I look at Maryland. It's a one-party state. We are not getting a fair shot. The middle class is under attack, and I'm a soldier at heart. Even though I was in the Air Force, if you're carrying a gun, you're a soldier, and backing down is not what we do. And when somebody knocks me down, I'm going to get right back up. And there's a lot of us out there that are just like that. And so I don't want to move out of the state. I heard you mention just a few minutes ago earlier that you were considering moving out of the state, but you're basically too stubborn to do so. That's the same way I am. I don't think I should have to leave because the Democrats are running us into the ground. How about we get in there, retool this thing, and bring some conservative principles to the state and save it? And that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I, what comes to mind is, I like driving a 6-cylinder car. I really like an 8-cylinder car. Loved my Jag. But when you're running on all cylinders, it's efficient, it's fun. Yeah. It's fun. You win. You're fast. We need to be running on all cylinders, and we haven't. We've been limping along with a lack of message. That was said by Dodson. We really haven't had concise messaging. No. And we've lacked kind of like, I call lackluster, right? We've been a bit lackluster. And I think because losing stinks. I mean, who wants to lose? I hate losing. I'm a winner. I want to win. Like President Trump says, we're going to win, right? So how do we shift in Maryland? You're now toward the top of the ticket. How do we shift in Maryland so you bring all these people along with you as we win?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I mean, how do we do this? We have to show the electorate, Republican, Democrat, Independent, anything. We got to show them that we have a better package for them, that their lives will be better than they are right now. And right now, I mentioned, Tyrone Keys just a few minutes ago. He's talking about the exorbitant rates that we're being charged for our electricity, and the fact that The legislature is pushing wind and solar. The lights don't come on when the sun doesn't shine. You know what I mean? The wind, when it doesn't blow, you don't get any electricity. It's just a very inefficient system. Nuclear is the way to go. We've got a lot of coal. We've got a lot of natural gas in this state. Bottom line is we could do a whole lot better. We need to present those ideas to the electorate and let them make a good decision. But in the meantime, we spend most of our time as Republicans squabbling, trying to talk about who's in charge. And the way I look at it,
the other thing we do that's really disgusting is, are you conservative enough? Exactly. Are you a conservative? Quit it. Exactly. Everybody stop. Stop. No one has to live in your world.
Exactly.
That's why we call it free. Go ahead.
One of the things I learned in the military, and you'll find that, you know the culture, up or out. Either you win or you get out. And especially on the officer side. Well, that's the way it should be in the political world. We've got a lot of people in the Republican Party that have been in charge for a very, very long time, but they keep losing. And if you're losing, and I don't mean just the candidates, I'm talking about the folks in the infrastructure that have been there forever, for a decade. And we're looking around here and wondering why we keep losing with different candidates. Well, the infrastructure isn't there for those candidates to win. I can tell you right now, I've got a crew of volunteers. I love these people dearly, and a lot of folks that advise me, like you and Gordana and people like that. Bottom line is we stick together, but we got a lot of other people that just, hey, I want my way. It's my way or the highway. And if the system isn't working the way these people envision it, then step out of the way and bring some new blood in. And that's what we need to do here, and regardless of candidate.
Amen. So, we're calling on an exciting new transformational leadership team for the Maryland GOP in the next conference, which will be after the November election. I believe it'll be December of this year. So if wherever you're listening from, reach out to your central committee. Let your heart and mind be known as to what you're looking for in leadership for the Maryland GOP, because I believe we need the populace to drive where we're going next. We need to rise up from the ranks within our voter base, and frankly, including Democrats. We need Democrats and independents to come together with our party and say, now we've had enough, because we got to get rid of the crazy leftist, Democrat, socialist, communist, tyrannical control that we have in Maryland. It's got to go. We're coming up on a break, Berney, so I just want to get your thoughts to kind of set up the next segment on different policies at the congressional level. Why is America First important to you, just briefly?
Well, if we don't take care of ourselves, no one else will. And the issue of the day is we have something good here. I have been outside of Antarctica and South America. I've been to every continent. And let me tell you, I've been places where things are not so good. And if you notice this anchor baby thing, I was just on Newsmax a few minutes ago talking about that. People are literally doing, tourism to get their babies born in the United States. That ought to tell you something. Don't be complacent, because this communism thing, this Marxism thing is marching our way. There's a communist mayor in New York. These people have designs on our way of life. 100 million people have died between Chairman Mao and Stalin. Let's not talk about Hitler. I'm just talking about Mao and Stalin. So, no, I don't want that here. So I know what it is. I've fought communists all my life, and I get excited about it, because we can't let our grandchildren grow up in a place where they don't have American values. And
okay,
so
you're
I'm
listening.
ready to fight for that.
We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Berney Flowers, congressional candidate for Maryland's 3rd Congressional District, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Jen Charlton in for Kim Klasick, and I have on the line Berney Flowers, candidate for Maryland's 3rd Congressional District. And Berney, on this last half hour, I want to kind of hit some key issues that are facing us at the federal level. So one of those issues, of course, is Save America Act. And we know that we've had issues with the Senate. John Thune, in his leadership, has been ineffective at getting done what we needed done, which is 80% of the country believe there's an issue with elections. They just want voter IDs. just like you would have to use to fly a plane, to get help at an ER. You cannot go into the ER. Well, if you present, they have to take you, but they always ask you for an ID. I can't go in and visit my loved one in the emergency room without an ID at the security desk. So you don't get health care without an ID. And even if you're an illegal, they're giving you access to health care here in Maryland through the Maryland Exchange, which is a whole nother show. But you still get an ID. So it's not insane to think that we should have an ID to exercise our precious right to vote. What are your thoughts on the Save America Act?
Jen, I don't understand what John Thune and Mitch McConnell, I don't understand their justification for not supporting the president's initiative. It doesn't make any sense. As you mentioned, 80% of Americans want this thing passed. I remember voting just a little bit ago for it. I voted for myself, believe it or not. That's a pretty cool thing. But the idea is they didn't ask me for ID. And that's insane. You got, in order to buy cough medicine, you got to show ID. So it's just upside down. I don't understand their logic, and nobody's explained it to me. And I follow politics. I'm involved. So we got to do something about this, and I encourage everyone, every good American, to write their elected representatives and let them know how you feel about this. And if there's enough pressure, we can push this thing over the edge and get the SAVE Act passed. But there's no reason that we shouldn't have to show ID to vote.
Well, personally, I think we need to get rid of John Thune. His leadership has been less than impressive. So,
Amen.
Yeah, he needs to go. Let's go to the recent Iran bombing. In the last 2 days, the president has hit them pretty hard. And he mentioned, we may just take over Kharg Island, which is a key it's a key port. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about that with Berney Flowers running for Congress in Maryland's 3rd Congressional District. We'll be right back.
To the boardwalk, from Pikesville to Parkville. This is the right choice for Maryland.
Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Welcome back. This is Jen in for Kim Klasick. You can listen to my show Saturday mornings 9 to 10 a.m. on WFMD, WFMD.com, or on the WFMD app. It's my pleasure to be here in WCBM, and I'll be back again later in the month. So we have today Berney Flowers on the hotline. And Berney, we were talking about Iran, and I'm sorry I had to cut you off there as we were going to break, but let's talk about Kharg Island and the notion that the president said, we may have to take it over. Sometimes I think he's sort of taunts his opponents, which I can kind of get. He's like, he lives rent-free in their minds, like the people of TDS. They just don't even realize it. It's hilarious. So I wonder if this was him kind of taunting Iran and the regime. What do you think?
I sure hope so, because here's the thing. I mean, sending someone's child off to war when the enemy is dug in. So we're not just going to go in there and not suffer any casualties. And even if you were able to do a clean operation and kill all the enemy like we were able to do in Venezuela, you're going to have memories from that. You're going to see things that human beings should not see. And I basically would not recommend us putting boots on the ground. I'm hoping that the president is just, as you say, funding with the Iranians and trying to get them to the negotiation table or get them back to where they should be so we can get this thing shut down and get that oil flowing out of the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, unfortunately, I'm usually an optimist, but I'm not on this one. I happen to think, and I've known many Iranian people, as you probably have, many of who came here when the regime went into power and got out with the shirts on their back, lost many of their fortunes. They're smart people, so they came over here and made it again. But, they left that legacy wealth behind in many, many cases. So, yes, war is messy and it's horrible, and we never want to see our service members harmed or pay the ultimate price. But I don't see a way that we get out of Iran without crushing them and freeing the people. And that is regime change. And yes, I guess I am calling for a regime change, because this regime will never get it. They will never capitulate. They will never back down. To your point, they are dug in, and it is their homeland. It's their home ground. So they've got home turf advantage. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of those people are Persian. That's the Persian Empire we're talking about. And, the people that are running things are religious fanatics, and they really don't care about the population. And, the idea of the Powell Doctrine, I don't know if you remember those days back when General Powell was in charge, but his deal was, if we're going to war, we're going to kill everybody. And unless you have that mentality, you really shouldn't be going to war. I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing with the president. I'm not in charge. But if it was me, we would go with overwhelming force and with the mindset of, we got to get this thing over with as fast as possible, and we got to bring everything we got. This incremental thing, it's just going to get a bunch of people killed.
Well, and you think back to George Bush 41 when he went in, and, that was a very short war. He just smacked them down, and we were in and out, and that was good.
Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf, they weren't playing.
They were not playing, and you got to be in it to win it. There is no losing's not an option. We saw that with Vietnam. So, and the crushing effects it had not only on so many disabled, and many lost their lives because we were fighting on their home turf, but the crushing effect it had when people came home from Vietnam and they weren't respected. And we can never have that happen again, because anybody who signs up to serve this country deserves our respect, admiration, and love.
I agree 150%.
Yeah. So let's move.
And,
go ahead.
Yeah, you keep going.
Okay, so let's move to, we talked about Anchor Baby. Any more you want to say about that? Because for me, I don't think that, let's call it a loophole, but that's not the intention of using our system to steal their way in legally, if it is so, by using a baby to get citizenship. I think it's just really disgusting. I mean, and here's the thing I want to keep putting out for people. If you hate your own homeland country so much, do something to change it.
That's logical, and you're applying logic to an illogical situation.
Yeah. I do that every now and then. Don't let the blonde hair fool you. So let's move on to the 17th Amendment is coming up. Representative Andy Harris just kind of went into the news on that issue. And I did a little research on the 17th Amendment, it's quite fascinating, actually, because in 1913, up until 1913, the senators, U.S. senators, 2 per state, were assigned or voted on by the state legislatures to represent the states at the federal level. In 1913, they changed it to have the people vote for the U.S. senators. But the founding fathers thought it was better for the states to have representation at the federal level by legislators of that state, so that, kind of keeping the balance between state and federal control. Mm-hmm. But by moving it into a political process where the people, we the people, vote for the U.S. senators, it lost some of the initial intent, which was to ensure that states had a say in federalism. What are your thoughts about returning to and restoring the 17th Amendment to its original intent?
Wow. I can't say that I know that much about it, but what I understand, the way you explained it to me, this would be more of a federal/legislative process, and the people would be taken out of it. And I don't know if I like that. I need to study it a little bit more. But the idea is that, we don't do a good job, or better yet, the legislature, the government just doesn't do a good job right now, and they give them even more power to screw things up. I don't know if I'm all for that, but we'll have to study up on it, and Andy Harris, hopefully he can tell us more about it.
Yeah, I have a similar kind of thought that considering how bad the Maryland legislature is currently, to give them now that power. Now, let's be honest. We have two U.S. senators that are Democrats. I don't remember the last Republican senator we had. It's been a while. So
I can't remember one.
Right. So to have them assigning U.S. senators, well, maybe that is no different than we already have, except that the far left that's now in power would be determining very far left senators. So, okay, let's just dig into that for a second. Van Hollen's the guy who had drinks with a convicted illegal,
Yeah.
who was known to beat his wife.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe we have it already and it would make no difference. It's kind of an interesting dilemma. We'll have to see how it shakes out. Final thoughts on that?
Well, I just think that we're in a one-party state, and giving the government of this state even more power to select our leaders is probably not a wise move. There's no balance here. And that's where we are right now. I mean, we're fighting, we're David versus Goliath, and Goliath has been winning for 100 years.
So let's move to the session. They're getting ready to have a special session August 3rd through 5th to determine they could potentially change your congressional district so that either you no longer live in it, which you can still run, but maybe you would have a different opponent or something. They may change this before this upcoming November election. What are your thoughts about that? We're going to take a quick break in just a minute. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think it's insane what they're doing, but, me and Wes Moore don't see eye to eye on anything. How about that? And, redistricting, I hope the DOJ comes in here and cleans house. There's what they're doing here. It has to be unconstitutional. It's crazy.
Well, I agree with you. I think we have illegal laws. We actually have a couple more minutes. We have illegal laws that they're pushing down using their power and authority and tyrannical control over we the people. And every time we try to take our control back, it requires attorneys and a lot of money. And a Supreme Court like Mahmoud v. Taylor to tell them they've lost their minds. So it shouldn't be that way. We, the people, shouldn't have to fight for our constitutional rights. They are granted. So how do we ensure that, frankly, the DOJ does come in here, that this special session it is unconstitutional. They've already said so in CD6. The gerrymandering is not okay. Maryland's trying to respond to, and by the way, Bill Ferguson has been reluctant to do this.
Yes.
And the governor keeps pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, which is his Soros-backed.
That ugly name.
Right? Soros-backed Fannie, pushing for this far left agenda to be, imposed not only here in Maryland, but across the country. And it's really got to stop. This kind of goes back to your point, and maybe this is where we wrap around and is that communism is here.
Yes.
And I said this several years ago, socialism is just a train stop on the road to communism. Again, we live in continuums. We don't live in boxes. Right. And so if the continuum is, freedom, democracy, democratic republic, liberals, and then we become social, they, impose socialism, and then next stop is communism.
Yeah.
How do we stave off this devolution of government and society into a socialist communist network that will be let's be clear, there will be two groups, and this is clear in communism. You can look it up. There's the people in power and the people with nothing.
Yeah. Well, honestly, what we just did for the 4th of July, I mean, that's the biggest 4th of July celebration I've ever seen that the president put on in D.C. And a lot of people have become apathetic up until now. Now the country seems to be patriotic. People are starting to understand that we got something really good here and we may have to fight for it. I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and do anything physical, but just think about those patriots back, that went to war over a 5% T-tax. Think about that. So look at the taxes we're paying now. So people just need to be aware and understand that, you got to be involved in your government. Even if you're a working person, you're working 60 hours a week, I get that, but there are other people who have free time. Go over to your local central committee, whatever party you have. Get yourself involved in the school board. Do something to help your community. That sense of, community involvement seems to have died, and that's what the people in charge on the liberal side want. They want folks to be apathetic and non-responsive, and the next thing you know, they're raising the price of the taxes on your house. We can't have that.
It's funny. I'm getting ready to move my business, and we're shutting it down. And I'm being charged 18%
My goodness.
moving tax. It's
Moving
a gas fee so the moving company isn't getting it. The state of Maryland is forcing them to upcharge me 18%, which is the equivalent of $120 extra for this move.
Wow.
They're going to get their piece because Westmore can't finance his way out of a paper bag. And the legislature has no boundaries. They have zero financial constraint. I want to go to, you mentioned something about the patriotism and understanding what the founding fathers went through for us.
Yeah.
And they did physically fight, and they lost their lives, and they lost their limbs, and they lost their children.
Many did.
Many did. Glenn Beck does a great series. I really shout out to Glenn on Facebook. I think I saw it. He does a series where he, like a storyteller, tells the story of the Boston Tea Party and how they came about signing the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and all of the different things that they went through to get us to where we are today. And I think it's worth looking at because we need to understand what it took. And fighting sometimes means standing up to what's uncomfortable. Like we for so long were unwilling to have the tough conversations with a Democrat or an independent, frankly, standing up for President Trump when they were attacking him. Wait, you're calling him Yellow Man and you're making, rude comments about him. But what he's trying to do is reset our economics. He's trying to make sure that we're not in a deficit for our exports. And we're actually financing our country the way it was originally done through tariffs, not taxation. But people can't quite wrap their head around it. Well, because the liberals, frankly, the communist socialists that we're talking about, don't want that outcome. They want to keep us under control. Your thoughts?
And if I may, the first thing that they did was attack the schools. Remember, the Department of Education, they changed the whole doggone curriculum back in the 70s. And so these kids are not getting civics. They're not getting history. They're getting a whole lot of social this and social that, and they're being taught that America is bad. Okay? But yet, on the other hand, I don't see anybody trying to break into China. I don't see anybody trying to have an anchor baby in Russia or any of these other places. Everybody wants to come here. We bring in more immigrants than any other country, and we just want it to be done legally. This country is a country of immigrants, but the bottom line is that we have to have laws. We can't just one of the things that burned my cookies more than anything else when I was at DHS, we were telling people to take the vax. We were forcing people. It was, one of the reasons I left was because of the vaccine, and I wouldn't take it. But the issue of the day is the people that we were bringing into the United States, all those illegals, all those Afghans, all those Haitians, they didn't have to take the vaccine. They weren't being encouraged. We were just telling people they're being vetted. Okay? So That's just crazy. And most people don't know that. If they don't know that, they can look it up. I was there. I was part of the system, and I walked away from a really, really good job on principle. So we just have to understand that we live in a really wonderful place. Everybody wants to come here. Notice all these people in the World Cup. They're singing the praises of America, singing the praises of hot dogs and apple pie. They had a great time, and we need to enjoy our country too, and we need to understand that we got something good. But it starts in the schools. We need to teach these people, these children, the value of being an American.
Well, and a lot of Europeans recognize that President Trump is not only fighting for us, he's fighting for them too, because he's setting a precedent. And you're seeing a pushback in Europe now against the Muslim movement, which has been an infiltration. And there's everybody can follow me on X at RealGen Charlton, at RealGen, Jen Charlton, CHARLTON. And you'll see some of the things I post there, as well as on Facebook, The Jen Charlton Show, and my personal page. But, you know, the Muslim movement, and I tell everybody, my aunt's Muslim. I love my aunt. She's wonderful, from Turkey. But the Muslim movement has an intention. Back to intention. Their intention is to impose their will on us, to impose their, not religion, their government structure, their societal structure, right? Sharia law. Now, I was president of the Women's Commission. It will never be okay for them to impose their will on us and to suppress the opportunities and the freedoms for women in America. We're going to take a quick break. I have on the line Berney Flowers, congressional candidate for Maryland's 3rd Congressional District. This is Jen Charlton sitting in for Kim Klacik. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. This is Jen, and I have with me today Berney Flowers as we wrap up this wonderful session. I thank WCBM for the opportunity, and Kim Klacik, who will be back again soon. It's my pleasure to sit in for her today and to talk to all of you beautiful people. So, Berney, to wrap up, how can people follow you, and what is your commitment to people in CD3, and what is your commitment to Marylanders? Because I believe you serve not only your district, but you serve all of Maryland and, frankly, the nation, because your vote is one more Republican vote in the House, and we need to retain the House. And by adding you, we will add a seat and lose a Democrat. So this is a big win. How can people support you, and what are you going to do for them?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity, Jen. I mean, we've been friends for a long time, and, a lot of people don't know me as well as they should, but I'm going to work on that. But the issue of the day is that what can I bring to the table? I got 34 years in the government. I got 21 years in the military. I worked in DOD, happy as a lark for nearly 14 years. I retired as a senior advisor to Mayorkas. I am not proud of that necessarily, because I was not happy with his leadership, but I was a government civilian, and I was obligated to carry out my responsibilities and my duties, and I did so. But the thing is that's important here is I have seen the inside of the government. I've seen the waste. I've seen the corruption. I've seen the crazy immigration policies. All of these other things have been all over the world. So I can bring that to Maryland, and I can tell you that my opponent, how did she get into the Armed Services Committee as a freshman legislator? The Armed Services Committee normally takes about 20 years to get into. So how that happened, I will never know. I've never seen it happen before. And, the DOD budget, for example, is almost $1 trillion. That's a lot of money, and a lot of it is being wasted. And I think I can help guide some of that towards Maryland. I think I can help maintain some of the things that we have here. I think I can bring some industry in. I know how it was done. I remember, I believe it or not, working with Barbara Mikulski, who was a Democrat when I was over at Fort Meade, and we did a lot of things. If you're ever over that way, you'll see that U.S. Cybercom is something special now. And she brought a lot of that in, along with General Alexander, and I was part of that.
Berney, we're at the top of the hour. How do people follow you?
BerneyFlowers.com, BERNEY, or flowersformaryland.com. Either way, go onto my website, go onto my social media. Hey, send us the cost of a cup of coffee, and you will not be disappointed.
All right. God bless you. Berney Flowers running for Congressional District 6 here in Maryland. Everybody, this has been my pleasure to be with you today. Thank you, WCBM. Thank you, Kim Klasick. Thank you to each and every one of you. Have a great week. Be safe, and we'll be